Today I'm going to talk about returning to love as a way of bringing comfort and healing, as kind of like the body consciousness, which can feel separate to be consciously embodied, is as a way of handling the constant change. Body consciousness is trying to find something to hold on to, like homeostasis in the body is to keep balance. So, blood sugar goes up, something brings it down. Blood sugar goes down, something brings it up. So this idea of like constantly aligning to what actually is. And when we don't, we get a lot of physical issues. So I'm going to talk personally about some of my history with some of my physical issues, and then I'll go deeper into the healing aspects of this. So my body, and I'm going to go back a few years, let's say 4 years. Between 4 or 5 years, I had a lot of these symptoms at different times, or I was starting to become embodied, and I would feel a lot of this pain. So for example, my neck, muscle tight, pinched, mostly on the right side, the nerve, the sense of pressure, even into the tonsil. It was like something was there, it was blocked. The inner ear, the middle ear, like area, having sharp pain. I had abdominal pain on the right side. My lymph nodes had issues, especially in my neck and under my jaw, and especially on the right side, could be related, but also TMJ, just overall neck tightness, and salivary gland even being affected, like a swollen feeling, and even twitches, feeling like my pores of my body were not clear. Like, I heard of mites and I looked into that, but it wasn't that. It felt like the follicles or something, and just overall lethargy. And then there's a few muscles that I had to research, where is this pain originating from? And it was the multifidus, rotatorus, iliocostalis, and longissimus. I believe it's capital. So then I'm going to read a quote now from Derek Jensen from his book Endgame. If you're not comfortable with who you are, you have to force others to confront you only on your own terms. Everything else is too scary. If you're comfortable with who you are, however, it becomes no problem to let others be their own selves around you. You have faith that whoever they are, whatever they do, you'll be able to respond appropriately. You can be fluid and respond differently to different people depending on what they need from you. And I found that I wasn't really capable of that. And I had to start looking at love as a way to change together. So me and my body, or me and another person, it meant growing apart. The parts themselves had to grow. So actually, to be changing together means the balance we have now is being altered. I'm changing and you're changing. And as I change, I move in the direction that matches my balance. I may even move away from you, and you may move away from me because of the balance. So if I'm changing in order to maintain homeostasis, you might move away from the change, in other words. It's not personal. And then we remind each other, slow down so we can keep up. And, I might remind the slow one to catch up, and the slow one might be reminding, let me say this. The fast one is being asked by the slow one to slow down so that the slow one can catch up. The fast one is telling the slow one, speed up so you can keep up. However, there is never truly a slow or a fast one. There's just a pace at which change is happening. So if we say we want change to be faster or slower, there's like this force, there's this control. And when we're afraid, we need to keep going anyway, but most of us, we keep on like becoming paralyzed, like there's nothing to do, and we don't know how to keep it simple. And sort of like the light will get better and the dark will continue to leave as we learn to prey on things, which means we don't actually have to control them, change them, fix them. But we learn to say, this is truly bothering me. We acknowledge it fully, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I don't like it happening, and I don't want this to be part of my life. And so that gives us information where it's like, who is going to be my family in the world? Who treats me in a way I like? Where do I feel at home? And if somebody, our family of our flesh is not always the family of our spirit. They could be, but not always. And it's important that we send prayer for peace every day. So now I'm going to tease this out a little and say, what if this whole relationship I'm talking about is not between two people, but between my body and my soul, or my mind or consciousness or something? And, the advanced souls are always working on themselves, seeing the flaws, the shortcomings, and they dread losing their humility. So in a sense, growing apart from the body and coming back together and saying, look, my body has the wisdom. I don't want to always force my body to rush when it's asking me to slow down, or my body's telling me rush and I'm saying slow down. This relationship between, so we can pray for our body to have peace. Now we can start to see we don't have to change the body, fix the body. We can respond to the body. That's a true homeostasis that responds to the changes internally. And as we start to say, may you be peaceful, may you feel good, because I was talking a lot about my physical pain. And it's like, even in a loving relationship, let's say there's somebody else, and I'm thinking of a relationship I was in, just because you can't say it or feel it or show it or think it or see it, or, it doesn't mean I'm unlovable, just because the other can't express it. So it's like, just because the body can't do what you want doesn't mean it's unlovable. It just means that that's their ability. That's the body's ability at the moment. That's the man or woman's ability at the moment. And so what I'm really pointing at here is really, it's not giving up on people or ourselves, but it's giving up the fight so that we can actually come back into that true homeostasis. So wellness is really adapting and trusting my abilities, feeling belonging as I am, and compassion for not being dependent on others' actions. Compassion, not for, but compassion is like for myself when I see I'm not able to do something, instead of trying to force it, like there's this shift toward I see, this is your action, what you're capable of, to my own body, and becoming more at one with it. That's wellness. That's me and my body, not just me and my body's gotta do it. And I use my body, and when we seduce people, when we manipulate, we're using our body, because we're using our body language, our voice, to kind of indirectly force the world, even if we're not quite physically forcing or putting, breaking and entering or any of those. And then we can do this for others. Their actions don't change whether we have compassion for their abilities. We can actually accept and say, we here have to come up with a way to either check in or catch up or figure out where we're headed and if we're doing this together, And finally, validating my own existence by giving myself undivided attention. I wasn't doing that for my body. And in learning how to do that for my body, I've been learning how to do it for myself. And I struggle with it because the world seems sometimes more exciting, or my body itself seems like, it's just a burden. But when it's asking for my attention, it's because it will be less of a burden if I listen. And homeostasis is like going into the pain for a little. Pain is the order, so that I know what to do and what not to do. And this is like the uncovering. The uncovering helps me to be more modest. I might have been, too much indulgence, consumption. Then honesty. Maybe I've been like storing in my body my lies, like to myself, to others. Patience. This is a lot about, how can I say this? Waiting. The ability to pause and focus. Focus. It's not about waiting. It's about focusing. It's about not rushing. It's about focus. Focus on what matters. And those are actually patience, modesty, and honesty are values I want to align with. That's what I want to be in homeostasis with. In Buddhism, it's called being a refuge, which is to welcome everybody as they are. I'll be the one who doesn't need to change you. I'll see you. I'll be the one who doesn't need anything from you. So that my body being a refuge for me, or me being a refuge for my body, either way. And then also a refugee, which is the ripeness, the not immature or rotten, instead of competing, let me say it like this. Ripe means I'm not immature or rotten in perceiving threats. So immature is like undeveloped, and rotten is overdeveloped. Ripe is like right in the middle. To be a refugee is not to think that everybody's out to get me. It's to kind of be a refugee where I could feel safe with wherever I'm at. I could adapt, and like Derek Jensen in that quote, I could be comfortable with who I am and respond fluidly to situations as they arise, because I'm not actually so afraid of being threatened. And instead of competing, like there's not enough, and I'm a refugee and there's not enough sanctuary for everybody, and it's like I have to prove that I'm helpless or needy, and explaining and then distracting and worrying, it's not going to be okay. But rather recognizing I'm a refugee in the world. Obviously, we extend that to everybody. And I'm going to talk about this. I have a tattoo here. If today I didn't have any tattoos, I don't know if I'd get any, but they're meaningful for me and they teach me a lot, especially the ones I have a little resistance to later. So right now I'm, sharing this. Om Namah Shivaya. Now I got this when I was interested in yoga, Sanskrit, and Om Namah Shivaya could mean, Om is like the refuge, the home, the source. And in Hebrew we would say Shalom, the peace of the source, and Makom means place, but like really it's like a space of the source. So we have Om in many languages, but in different words, but at least I like that in Hebrew you have the Om built into the most precious kind of space or peace of that abiding. And then Nama is pleasure or enjoyment, but also like submitting, surrender, like I'm trying to feel it in my body to say it. The bliss, the exaltation, like totally being nothing for the beauty and the majesty of something beyond. And then Shivaya is Yah, but Shivaya is like the aspect of the divinity, which is not necessarily destroyer in a bad way, but creative destruction, like the one that clears the path, that's stronger than anything pushing, forcing, punching. This can clear that up. So it's like the destruction of even destruction. So I kind of resonated with that, and I used to think about letting things go to become open, and how I get my period every month and I'm new with the egg, and after it's gone. And so just I kind of wanted to bring this into my culture, my tradition of Judaism. And so I realized I can also translate this, like I said, as Om, which is a vibration, and I spoke earlier about peace and space having vibration, enjoys or submits to abiding in Yah, because Shiva is also can mean abiding. If the pushing is destroyed, there's room for growth. So in other words, there's an abiding where we kind of destroy the self that's always trying to do everything. So in order to serve Yah or God or oneness, we have to, or the Most High, we have to let go of the lower, of the lesser, of the transients, the things, and again, I'm bringing this back to homeostasis, the things that are constantly trying to change everything. So God is above all, supreme, auspicious, mighty, being, one, source. That's Shiva Yah. Yah, really it's Yah. But in Hebrew we also use the word Shiva to mean sitting. And it has a lot of similar roots. And I'll probably talk about this in a different video, but Shavua means an oath. Or a similar way to say it would be a week. I'm not going to say every way, but there's a lot of words that have this Shiva. And in different ways. Shavua, Shavuot is the seven. It also means seven, Sheva. It also means sitting. It also, like Beersheba means the seven wells. It's a place in Israel. And Shave means to sit. Then you have Yashiva, which is to sit like with study, like to abide in presence. And you could think of like the Big Lebowski where he says, I just abide. So we kind of like lets go of all the ordinary craziness to be with extraordinary, but we are letting go of who we used to be and the stuff we think has to go a certain way. And that's our connection to the cause. The inner self, which, like, where does destruction all come from? Of what's good or bad is creative destructive energy, but it's really from an infinite perception. Because finite means there's not enough to go around. You have to destroy it. So this inner self of good and bad, creative destructive energy being intermingled means there's more than enough to go around. But some things aren't in alignment, homeostasis. So and now I going to move to the last part that I have here today, which is I wrote a small letter. It's called Return. And I recognized I was so afraid of loving somebody. This is like a year ago or more, that, I had to become conscious of a lot of parts. So returning to love, to bring healing and comfort, really, I wrote this, and it served me to look at it again, because I recognized that there were some parts that really embody this homeostasis. Like I was shifting, pushing, wanting to but I was also having that done to me. So there was a lot of like this romantic idealism. And I had to return to real love, which is not idealizing, it's acceptance. It's saying I'm in alignment. Whatever you do is about you. I am going to love from a place of compassion that's not dependent on anyone else's actions. And I may not be able to be around you, if I'm not supposed to. Or I may, have to keep going my way and you might be left behind. But this is where it came back. And I said, please come back to me. I'm sorry. I love you so much. I choose you. You're perfect. You're a dream come true. I'm sorry for the unconscious behavior. My perspective is expanding and I want to serve this or you. I give you my seed. I want to be a vessel for you and your moon. I want to be your moon. I wear my ring. I bought myself a birthday ring on my wedding finger when I'm not with you, so no one attempts to tempt me away from you. I'm so afraid that's what's happening. I want to be one with you, but I'm scared because you're not Jewish. I'm scared of the sexual buildup, that you won't enjoy me and I'll disappoint you and you won't want me anymore. You're the strongest, smartest, most creative, fascinating, and exciting, most sensitive, sweetest man I ever met. And I guess I can't believe it. I want to get to know you. I want a fresh start with you. Can you believe that this was not the person that actually existed? This was a story I had that had to be destroyed. Whatever I wrote here, actually, I had to return to love. This wasn't love. What I wrote here was not matching homeostasis. I was being an enabler in some ways. I was not standing up for myself. I forgot about we. I was trying to be all you get to say I. But I don't even exist. I'm just here to serve. And, but instead, Om Namah Shivaya is helping me in this, where the vibration of Om, which I am also, not just the other one, I am also Om. It's abiding in this pure presence of clear. Clear means everything's taken out. So clarity is also like clearing the way for us. So there's these aspects which are not negative. I think that's all I have today. So I wish you homeostasis and the spirit and body consciousness as a way of being well during change, and, by returning to love to bring yourself healing and comfort.